If you could just start by saying and spelling first and last, and then your title for us.
Sure,
please.
Julian Bradley, Julian Bradley, State Senator.
Can you do that one more time?
Sure, Julian Bradley, Julian Bradley, State Senator.
All right, so
Great job then. Thanks.
yeah, exactly. So give us an idea of what you've been saddled with here on this AI task force that you've been having meetings with across the state.
Yeah, the Joint Study Committee on Artificial Intelligence is taking a look at several different areas where AI is impacting our society. So our first meeting we talked about workforce development. Our last one we talked about healthcare, and today we're going to talk about how law enforcement can use AI to help them in their jobs. So we've got a couple more meetings coming up. Pretty excited to tackle all of these topics. You know, when you talk to any number of people about AI, you can find 10 people to talk to about AI, and if you ask them, what is AI? You're probably going to get 10 different answers, from ChatGPT to images and songs and you know, bots and the Terminator even, right? So trying to get through some of that stuff and really talk about the impact that AI can have on our everyday lives.
And what impact can that have on our daily lives in law enforcement?
Yeah, well, that's what we're going to learn about today. I'm super excited to have the head of the Chiefs organization. We've got the sheriff here. District Attorney Eric Toney is on the committee himself. So we're going to hear a lot about what law enforcement can do with AI to really help them catch the bad guys. And that's a big deal. We really want to be able to use AI without invading people's privacy, which is incredibly important. We want to protect your data. We want to protect privacy. But we also want to catch the bad guys as we can. So there's going to be a fine line, and we're going to talk about that today.
Has law enforcement already used AI? Has there been some research already showing that?
There's been research that's done. I can't speak for what happens at every department here within our state, but there's certainly people that are talking about ways to use AI. And I think that's what we're going to hear about a lot more today, of how they can and what steps they'd like to take to do to implement AI solutions for some of the issues that they're facing.
What are some of the AI solutions that AI can help with in law enforcement?
Well, that's what we're going to hear about today,
Okay.
right? So we've got people from the law enforcement community that are going to present to us what they would like to do and what they're already doing a little bit of. And that's it. From the legislative standpoint, the most important thing for us is to ensure, number one, that government's not going to overreach and stop the growth or potential there. But number one also, 1 and 1A, we've got to protect privacy and we have to protect data. So I'm sure there's a lot of ideas on what AI can do, but should AI be involved in doing it is another question that has to be answered. In this committee, we're a study committee, so we're studying these issues first. They're going to be brought to us, we're going to study them, and then make a determination if there's a place for the state to get involved.
Yeah, and obviously you just brought it up how tight that needle is that you have to thread between, you know, privacy, making sure people's data, whether they know that it's out there or not, is indeed safe. I mean, is that kind of the biggest challenge that you're seeing so far with all of this?
Absolutely. The overarching theme is absolutely data protection and privacy and consumer protection and privacy. And so we've got to make sure, above all, that we're protecting the people. That's the government's primary role, is protection of its citizens, regardless of what technology emerges and how it can be used. So that's the primary thing that we're looking at, and making sure that we continue to protect our citizens. And then from there, finding ways that AI can help out in our everyday lives.
In the committee that you're in currently right now, do you have people in the committee that are against AI and people that are for AI and that are divided? And are you kind of on the fence?
So the entire committee, so there's 4 legislators. Everybody else comes from the private sector. So everybody else is an expert. They're subject matter experts on artificial intelligence. I haven't met anybody that's opposed to AI in general, because it's such a part of our everyday lives already. People just may not know it. We're trying to define it and making sure that we have the proper guardrails to safeguard against any nefarious acts, and really to make sure that consumers are protected.
You mentioned the consumer protection part. What are the fears that you guys have been looking into with AI that you guys are trying to figure out at this time?
Sure, that's a big one. So we just had healthcare, for example. And so whenever you talk about healthcare and data, you talk about records and who's got access to it, any potential data leaks. Is artificial intelligence being used to provide diagnoses yet? Those are big fears that people have. And as of today, that's not the case, and we want to make sure it stays that way.
Along with AI being a huge topic, with your committee as well, what have you guys found out already about AI that you don't need to do the research on at this point?
It's such an emerging technology. So AI and artificial intelligence learns and emerges as it goes. So as we're learning, it's already outdated. So every meeting that we have, every day, we are learning something new. And you can have a base knowledge of what artificial intelligence is and maybe some of the terms that are used around AI, but the technology changes every day because it's learning. It learns and adapts, so that's what we have to do as well. So the number one thing that we're talking about in our committee is how do we keep the government and any laws or rules or anything we put around it able to adapt to the technology so that we don't have to run back and try to change the law every couple of years.
Are you guys finding out laws do need to be changed because of the introduction to AI?
That's what we're talking about, is determining whether or not there is a place for the government to intervene at this point. So there are states where the government has taken the lead and said, we're going to intervene and we're going to get involved, like in Connecticut, California, Colorado's a big one. We're studying the laws that they've done to make sure that we're not too restrictive. We want the growth. There's definitely a place for AI to be involved, and we want to grow and help backfill, especially in the workforce, right? We have a worker shortage. There are places where AI can help with that. But we also want to make sure, again, I can't say it enough, we are protecting our consumers and we're protecting our data.
Has there been any data breach with law enforcement considering AI? Or
Nothing that I've heard of.
nothing you've heard? Okay.
All right.